All right. We are live.
Okie dokie, here we are. We are live. How's everyone doing out there? We are on Facebook right now, live, and we are also on TikTok at the same time. My name is John Gardner. This is my wife and law partner, Radlin Mendoza, and we are the
Hello,
immigration
guys.
law firm Gardner and Mendoza. We have been practicing immigration law as a law firm for over 25 years now.
Ooh,
Very exciting. Yeah. We've
dating us.
We've seen a lot of things, a lot of issues come and go, different administrations, different challenges, different solutions. So if you're looking for immigration information, you're in the right place. I want to warn you that what we do here is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not legal advice, but we do come to you every Wednesday. We come to give you immigration updates. We come to talk about specific topics that we think are important, whether it be issues involving a criminal background you might have, or questions about whether you should travel, or some of the top mistakes that you might make if you're a self-filer. Tonight, we're going to talk about processing times. So if you have any questions about processing times, make sure to get them posted in the chat and get them posted on TikTok here, and we'll try to get to them. Doesn't have to be a question about processing times. If we're not getting any processing times questions and you've got something totally unrelated, that's fine. Go ahead and get it posted as well. We will try to get the processing time questions first, but if you have other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we will try to get to them as the evening unfolds. How
As
are you
the
doing?
evening unfolds, I am good. I am good. Yeah, processing times. It's been interesting. Our observations with our filings at the beginning of this administration, they were super fast. In fact, they were processing naturalization cases as well as one-step adjustment of status cases so quickly that we thought maybe something was wrong. Do you remember this?
I do indeed.
And then everyone, of course, even with adjustment of status, everyone had to go to an interview, supposedly. So employment-based cases go to an interview, family-based cases back to interviews. And with these quick processing times at the beginning of the year, last year, we truly thought something was wrong, but nothing was wrong. Things were moving really quickly. Our clients were very nicely surprised, but the processing times are definitely reflecting what's on USCIS's websites with regard to processing time. So if you have a question, if you want us to look up your processing time and you know when you filed it, we'll be able to do that and kind of give you an estimate based on what's posted on USCIS. And so that's not it's kind of it's not perfect. It's not perfect information what's posted on USCIS as far as their processing times. They say that 80% of the cases are processed within the posted processing times. So right now, as far as things slowing down, I believe that a lot of the resources have gone to additional vetting, and that's taking time away from just doing your, you know, what do we say, bread and butter marriage adjustments, 751s, and that can slow things down. But also in April of last year, there were many seasoned officers who were offered retirement, right? Yes. Early retirement. And many people took that.
Yep.
And so you kind of had a, what do we call that?
Perfect storm.
A perfect storm, but also just like the knowledge base, right? A brain drain?
Yeah, brain drain. I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
Yeah. So a bit of a brain drain.
With all the people leaving. Yeah, sure.
Exactly. So it takes time to train an immigration officer, right? They have to go through extensive training with all the seasoned people gone. And we've spoken to our colleague and friend, Odette Kazi Bachelor, who just recently retired from USCIS, and many people took that early retirement. So those are some of the reasons why.
She's a frequent guest on our live streams here. So if you keep tuning in every Wednesday, you might get to see her and ask her some questions as well.
Yep,
Sorry to interrupt.
absolutely. Nope. So if anyone has any processing questions, we're happy to answer them. And I know we've got some questions on TikTok. If we don't have any processing questions, then let's take a look at some other ones.
Yeah, we can get to those. Shadow of Raiden is joining us on YouTube. Says, how has your day gone?
It's awesome.
Our day's been great. How about you, Shadow of Raiden? Hope your day's gone well as well. All right. So yeah, the reason that we try to pick topics sometimes because we know that we get a lot of questions, and one of the questions we do often get is, how much longer do I have to wait? I filed my case, blah blah blah. It's been now 9 months. Is that normal? I'm getting worried. How much longer do you think it'll be? And so processing times is something that we talk about from time to time because we know that that's often on y'all's minds. But Radlin's right. If we don't have any, we can just go ahead and get to the first question here. From April wants to know, what if my husband does not meet the financial requirements as he have petitioned his mom 3 years ago?
So what April is talking about is
she wants to know if it's true that it's considered a 3-person household still and has to meet the 31,000.
Yeah, it's going to be a 3-person household, correct? So if it's you, mom who was petitioned by your husband, her son, and now and also husband, so it is going to be a 3-person household. So what April is referring to is the affidavit of support. And so when you are petitioning for a family member, you do need to sign the affidavit of support where you are making a promise to the U.S. government that if your family member has to go on any type of means tested government benefit, then you are promising to pay the government back. So there are threshold level incomes that one has to meet. It has to be 125% of the poverty guideline, and it goes by the number of people in the household. And so, yes, your mother-in-law may not be in the household yet because maybe she's still in the process. You're not in the household yet if you're outside of the United States because you're still in the process. But, excuse me, you are still going to be counted under the affidavit of support. So what if your husband does not meet the requirements? So what you would have to do is, your husband would have to potentially get a joint sponsor, or he can use assets if he has assets. So there are ways around it. That joint sponsor has to be a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. There's a lot of pollen in the air here in Virginia Beach. My apologies.
Plus, Radlin has been, she just got over a really bad cough for a little bit there. So I hope it's not coming back.
Just during our live stream.
Just during the live stream. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Well, April, I hope that is helpful. And a question we got here from Travel With Me says, how complicated is EB2 perm-based adjustment of status application using cross-chargeability? Can I self-file? I do not
recommend it. Can you self-file?
Travel With Me.
I mean, why would you self-file?
What's that, Travel With Me?
Travel With Me? Okay, yeah. So, I mean, anyone can self-file. You don't need a lawyer for your immigration filings. You don't need a lawyer if you are charged with murder and you want to represent yourself. You don't need a lawyer if you want to drop your own will, right? We don't need lawyers for these things.
You don't need a lawyer to draft your own prenup. You
don't need a carpenter to build a deck. You could do it yourself.
Yep.
So anyway, our point is that, is it travel with time? Travel with time?
Travel with me.
Travel with me. Our point is that, you should definitely consider at least consulting with an immigration attorney. Anyone can do anything on their own, right? But it's not advisable. It's not advisable for me to build my own deck. I have no idea how to do it. I would have to Google everything. It would take me tons of time. I'd probably lose a finger or two. Worse for you, you could lose the opportunity, right? I mean, losing the opportunity to get a green card, you're doing cross-chargeability, right? You're doing this EB2 perm, it, like those things have to be explained to USCIS, that to the immigration officer.
Mhm.
You can't just write, oh, this cross chargeability. You need to prove that. You need to show that. And so this is more than, and then we're talking about a EB2 perm based case, adjustment of status. So, right, is everything in place, right? So I'm assuming that the perm's done, the I-140, are we concurrently file? I mean, there's so many questions I have. And then of course we have eligibility of the beneficiary. So there's a lot to contemplate. We're at the very end here, right? We talk about where we see the finish line. If we're using a marathon analogy here, we have a marathon here. John runs it every year, and it's you see the King Neptune, right? You know you're really close, but you don't want to get to King Neptune and not cross the finish line, right? You don't want to get all the way to the end, and not get to the finish line. So for all of you who are contemplating these types of things, is like, why would you? Why would you be at the very, especially for you, right? I mean, could you do it? Was that the question? Could I do it? Yeah, you can do it.
Can I self-file? And the answer, travel with me, that the technical answer is yes. You can self-file.
What do we say sometimes?
But there's a great quote.
See, do we tell everybody that we're married so we finish
Yeah,
each other's sentences? It's so great.
Yeah, Radlin, I say this a lot, so she's used to hearing it. But there's an old saying that just because you can doesn't mean you should. And it applies to many, many things in life. And I would say it absolutely applies here. Yes, you can self-file. Should you? No, you should not self-file. You should call us.
Yeah,
or
call
another
us.
competent immigration
Right.
attorney.
Yeah.
If you have a relationship with one, okay.
It doesn't have to be us. It could be another. Go check reviews, check memberships, check everything, but go to someone who's reputable.
Yep.
And please don't file this on your own.
Yeah,
Don't get to the King Neptune and
you've got a
drop
lot
the ball.
going on there, and it can all work, but it needs to be done right, and you really need a professional to help you with it.
All right, fantastic.
Okay, let's see. Let's pop over here to Facebook, and Dai Onishi, and Dai, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, says, I get deported. I'm checking out immigration on May 14th. Should I check in with them, or should I no? I'm not sure I understand the question. Maybe you can.
Maybe it's voluntary departure. I would definitely check with your immigration attorney to see what you're supposed to be doing. So we don't do removal work, but with a voluntary departure, most people just leave, and then they have to verify that they got to their country. But 100%, we don't know. The reason why what we're saying today is not legal advice is we don't know a lot of the things, right? That's a one sentence loaded sentence, and we're not going to give you legal advice on that. I'm not going to say, oh no, just leave the country, because there may be some things that you have to do before that in order to make sure that they know you've left, and not to jeopardize anything that you could be entitled to in the future. So
yeah, that's right, and that's a good point. We should expand on that just briefly. That the reason this is not legal advice, as Radlin said, we don't really have enough information from these small snippets of questions. If you schedule a consultation with our office and you speak with one of our immigration attorneys, they are going to really dig deep into the facts of your case and explore all the options of what the way forward can be. And then they're going to know whether or not you have a case that is good to go, that can be filed, that will be successful or not. And if it can't, if you're not qualified, then we'll let you know that. If you are qualified, we'll let you know that. And if there's something that has to be done to get you qualified, then at least we'll let you know what things have to happen before you can go forward. So whether you can file the case or not, once you've had a consultation with our office, you will absolutely at least know exactly where you stand with your case. All right. Next question up here was, as a freelancer and part-time student, Do I have chances of getting a B2 visa for an 8-day trip to New York City?
Uh, I mean, what country? There are a lot of factors. The biggest factor um, when applying for a tourist visa is your ties to your country and the ability for you to show that you have the intent to return to your country. So ties to your country are huge. You're a part-time student, so you're a student. Um, Freelancer, that's I would say neutral, if not potentially negative. But it is very hard to say.
Yeah, what country?
Yeah, what country you're from? Are you single? Let's just assume you're single. Are you marrying age? Probably so. I mean, these are all things that um, the consular office is going to take into consideration. But the most important thing is ties to your country and your ability to show that you are going to return after your short visit. But it's worth a shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. What did your mom say? Just ask.
Just ask, right? It'll cost you a few $100, your time, and you'll have experience in applying for a visa. So one thing I want to mention, guys, is that applying for a tourist visa, it seems pretty innocent, right? Like you're going to apply for the tourist visa, you're going to answer their questions. One thing is that you just got to be careful to answer truthfully, right? If you make anything that appears to be a misrepresentation, that could be a black mark on your record and you would lose your opportunity to be able to come to the United States ever. So just that would be my tip for everyone here. And of course, obviously you should always tell the truth, and especially during your interviews, because if there's any type of misrepresentation, that could really jeopardize everything for you. So
yeah,
it goes without saying.
We've seen some crazy things, and you can't be showing up as a tourist because you want to go see the sights in New York City and then get nervous when you're coming in and say that you're, before you go to New York, you're going to go to Miami, stay with your fiance for a week. You've suddenly got a problem on your hands then. So be careful. All right, what you're here for, the state of mind and the reason for your being here matters.
Right.
Okay, let's see here. We've got a question here. Oh, April followed up and wanted to know what the next, and I know we already took some time with April, but I think this is a general good question answering. What's the next step for a joint sponsorship? People might be wondering, well, what do you do if you need a joint sponsor? What's that process look like?
The joint sponsor needs to complete the affidavit of support, which is I-864, form I-864. And as I mentioned before, they have to be a permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. They have to complete that application, that form, and they have to provide evidence. So their most recent tax return, W-2, and pay stub, as well as proof that they're a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. So that needs to be submitted. If you're doing it through National Visa Center, then you upload these documents, including the signed affidavit of support. If you're doing it through adjustment of status, then it needs to go with your adjustment of status package. All right.
Okay.
Questions here. I like it.
Yeah, Mind has a question. Before that, we'll get her. There's a comment here from Maria. It says, "Hola, mi apreciados abogados siempre serviciales, saludos y muchas bendiciones."
Oh, very good. Thank you so much, Miss Maria. That was awesome. Good job. Good job.
It was 50-50.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Maria. Okay, so the question here from Min was, hello, in January 2026, the Department of State paused all visa issuances to immigrant visa applicants. Does this mean that my marriage-based green card, I'm married to a U.S. military person, will not progress until they unpause this? And to clarify, she says, I'm a Thai national, which is on the list of countries paused.
Yeah.
Or he, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's a he or she.
So, correct. That's going to be paused until that pause is lifted. So when you say, does it mean that it's not going to be processed? No, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be processed. And so are they, so one question I have is, are you in or out of the country? Do we have that?
Does not say.
Okay. So, Mind, if you're outside of the United States, then yes, up until you get to, the opportunity to go to an interview, you may be invited to go to that interview, but
In the country.
in your country, but they're not going to be able to approve that until the pause is lifted. If, we're talking about you being outside of the country. So, but your spouse, there are many steps before you get to that interview, right? Your spouse has to file the I-130 petition. That's still going. Then you have to go through the National Visa Center process. That's still going. And then up until the time that you're up, you can even get invited to go to the interview. And they may pause it at that point. So that's it. That's an example if you're outside of the United States. So that doesn't apply if you are applying for the green card here in the United States. So big difference there. Hopefully that answers your question. So you're in Thailand. So okay, yeah. So there's a lot of, I don't know where you are in the process. If you've done the I-130 petition and you've waited the 17 months that it takes to, there's a processing time that it takes to
she's in the US.
Oh, okay.
Or here.
In this country.
Here she is in the US.
They are in the country. Yep. So that you should be fine. So these are just for visas that you're applying for outside of the United States, but this process should still be able to continue. Yep.
Good luck, Mind. Hope it goes well.
And if you haven't filed your case yet, we'll be happy to file it for you.
Of course.
It is our,
of course,
one of the top
it's
service
what
areas.
we do all day, every day.
Yep.
Faye says, I'm so happy to see you here, both of you, ma'am. Well, thank you, Faye.
Thank you.
Happy to see you here as well. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. Okay, jumping back over to TikTok here, Samantha wants to know.
Before we get to that, I just want to do reintroduction.
Yes.
So my name is Radla Mendoza, and this is my law partner and husband, John Gardner. We started our law firm in 2000. So we are actually in our 26th year. We're very excited to be here. This is our 6th year doing live stream.
Right.
We took a little break. It was like a 8 month break. I don't know why we took it. We just had to take a break. And we come to you live almost every Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. to answer your immigration questions. We cover a topic sometimes. We often have our colleague and very good friend, Odette Batchelor, who is a retired former senior immigration officer, and she's worked in many capacities. So we met because we were working together. She was an immigration officer, and we went to the office. So tune in every Wednesday and like and follow, please, and share.
Keep an eye out for her as our guest, because it really is cool. She was literally the person sitting across the desk for years and years, deciding whether to approve these cases. And so it's a great opportunity to pick her brain and really to see, what are the immigration officers thinking? What are they looking through? What's going through their mind? What are the red flags that they have? How do they want you to be acting? How do they want the attorneys to be acting? All these little things. And of course, we know already, so lucky for us. But if you have questions and you feel like you'd not just like to ask them to an immigration attorney or attorneys like us, but also to a retired immigration officer, just keep coming on Wednesday, and I guarantee you will find her here one of these Wednesdays.
And you can check out some of our previous lives.
That's true. You can go back and look at some of the prior ones as well. Okay. Samantha wants to know, my joint sponsored tax return transcript isn't available, and my parents have their interview. What to do?
Joint sponsored tax return transcript is not available. Why? Why isn't it available? How about the 1040? I mean, if for whatever reason the person can't access their transcript, I would definitely go with a copy of the 1040 signed or e-filed, right? That's going to be better than than not having anything. Depending on when you, so they're going to the interview, right? The parents are going to the interview. Um, like I'm a little bit confused with the question because you really should be filing the tax transcript or the tax return at the time that you're either uploading to NBC or concurrently filing an adjustment of status application. So if I'm not sure what the situation is here. If you're talking about like a certified copy of the tax transcript, it doesn't need to be that. It can be just a copy of what was uploaded. So I'm a little confused about the question, but maybe you're talking about like an updated one. So maybe they filed another tax return since you filed, and yes, then you'd have to go ahead and bring that. So I would, if no tax transcript, I would bring the next best thing, and they may ask for the tax transcript. Even if they do ask for the tax transcript, they're not going to be able to issue the visas or approve the case until they get it. But it's not like it's the end of the case, right? Like you get an opportunity to submit documents that you don't have. So don't worry too much. If you can go with a copy of the 1040 that was e-filed or filed, go with that. All right.
All right. Good luck, Samantha.
We have a lot of questions tonight.
Yeah, we have. The good news is that the Travel With Me is checked back in to let us know that they were just curious to know about the self-filing, but they will use an attorney. That's great, Travel With Me. I'm glad that you're going to use an attorney for that.
Our job is done here.
Cross-chargeability case. Tomorrow when you call our office, I may not be the one answering the phone. Radlin may not be the one answering the phone. But we are looking forward to having you as a new client.
We look forward to consult. I look forward to consulting with you. Travel With Me. No, in all seriousness, guys, one of the big reasons that we come here is for you to stop and say, I probably shouldn't file this on my own, right? Especially now, things are a little treacherous out there in the immigration landscape. I mean, this is no cakewalk, especially now.
This is no time to be winging it and being sloppy.
And again, we really try not to fear monger here. Nope. We're just telling you the reality of things, right? So if a mistake is made, it's not like, oh, let's ask for the documents. I mean, if it's a fatal mistake, it's a denial and a notice to appear in immigration court. I mean, that's just the reality of what we're dealing with here. That's just the reality. So I'm glad that you guys are going to call us or another reputable immigration attorney.
Yeah.
And no, that's great news.
We're happy to know that Travel With Me is going to travel with us. That's awesome.
All right. Fantastic.
Yeah. No fear mongering here. Adlin's right. I mean, it's business kind of as usual. I mean, we are still, filing cases every day. We're still getting approvals every day. It's just that things are really tight in the scrutiny right now. It's not a time to be sloppy. It's not a time to be, as I said, winging it. This is definitely a time to really hunker in and make sure that you're, dotting every I, crossing every T, and really being ultra careful with how your case is put together and filed. This is not a time to be playing with the fire, okay? But if you do it right, then everything's good. It's just fine, Okay, what are you laughing at?
Sorry. You're playing with the fire.
Yeah, well, that's what the Trump administration is right now with immigration, is the fire. I mean, it's a real thing. You just have to know what you're dealing with. It's like any game, like any sport. If you want to win, you have to understand what the rules are, and you have to understand who else is in the arena with you and what you're dealing with. If you don't know those things, then you're going to have a low chance of winning. All right. And we do. We know exactly who we're dealing with. We know what we're dealing with. We know what the rules are and the laws are. So we have a real advantage. Okay. Vella wants to know, hi, if someone didn't or forgot to enlist for the selective service, can he still apply for citizenship? Do you know the answer to that?
Yes. Yes, they can. And you're going to have to give an explanation and reach out to the selective service for letter. But yeah, they can reach out to us. We've done it many times before, and this should be no different. So unless
Okay.
there are other things, right?
Mm.
So didn't register for selective service, didn't pay taxes, late on taxes, criminal record from 10 years ago. Then we start to, again, new landscape, new administration, right? This is where it gets a little bit murky. What are they going to do with the N400 in these types of cases? So N400s are very interesting right now in the sense that they're taking the holistic approach.
Yeah, that's right. The holistic approach.
We're checking no's on every single one of the boxes for our clients. No criminal record history, no false claim to U.S. citizenship, always paying taxes. But this administration said, hey, look, we're going to look outside of the four corners of your N400. And even if you check no's, this citizenship is really reserved for like the best people,
Yeah.
And so it goes into more a subjective analysis.
Yeah, it's not enough to just, not be disqualified. You have to prove that you are qualified to be a U.S. citizen. And it's a bit of a shift in the burden, the way that it's been playing out. Okay, we are up against our time. We got a couple more. Can we squeeze two more questions?
Yeah, because
in?
we have eight more minutes.
We're going to get one more question here, and then we're going to end with Sabrina's question because it goes to what our topic was here.
Okay, perfect.
But before we get to that, Alfonso wanted to know if they need to continue with NVC after getting the I-130 approved because my country is on a partial ban.
Absolutely, guys. Okay. the partial ban is going to be there, right? Now, partial ban is here, and you're here. All right. Now, let's say tomorrow, let's just say, you know what? I'm going to just stay here until they lift this ban. All right. I'm going to stay here until they lift this ban.
Right.
Ban. Right there. All right. So in 2 years, they lift the ban. Hopefully it's sooner than that. You're still here. You never moved. You never filed your I-130 petition, which takes 17 months, by the way. You never went to the National Visa Center, which can be like 3-4 months. You never got in line for the interview, which could be several months, could be a year, depending on your post. So the ban is lifted, but you're still down here because y'all just stopped and you didn't listen to us on all the Facebook Lives. We're saying like immigration, USCIS is not closed. It's very confusing. I get it why people are confused about this. Like partial ban. And you're like, okay, let me just stop then. But file that I-130 petition. Get the case moving. Move on to the National Visa Center. Pay your visa fee bills. Because this pause is going to be lifted. It will be lifted, whether it's in this administration or the next, right? Some point in time. So you want to just be crawling up to that point in time where you're basically done. They lift the ban and you're in line. You're next in line for the interview because you listened to us and you continue with your case. So that this is something that, our colleagues, immigration people, it's not closed, right? N400s, people are still getting citizenship. People are still getting to the point until, the interview or even getting interviewed, but they just can't approve it until this pause is lifted. People are still filing that standalone I-130 petition. You got to talk to us. You got to call us. You got to call another reputable colleague of ours. If you don't want to call us, it doesn't have to be us. The point of tonight, the point of every Wednesday night is like, don't do this by yourself. Just as like, I wouldn't like take my own kidney out, right? I wouldn't do surgery on myself. Don't do this by yourself.
Right.
This is an important, we can all agree that getting a lawful permanent residency to be reunited with your family, to be able to stay with your U.S. citizen spouse and your U.S. citizen children is extremely important. It is the most important thing going on in your lives right now. So we can all agree on that, right? At least you have two kidneys, right? You mess up one, at least you have another one. This one, you got to do it right. All right.
Yeah, and I just want to hammer this point home about moving forward. I mean, that's, our office, we're here on the East Coast, we're in Virginia, and if we want to go to California on the West Coast and we find out that they're pausing all entries into California right now, and we decide, oh, okay, well, we can't get into California right now, so let's just stay here in Virginia. No, let's start heading west. Let's start driving west because it's going to take us a long time to get out there. So let's start now. And by the time we get out there, if the pause gets lifted, now we're right on the state line. We're right there. And the minute the pause gets lifted, we're the first one in line to go in.
You can still
Okay.
You can still file those initial applications, move on to the National Visa Center, pay your NVC bills. I think it was specific question was NVC.
Yeah.
Prepare your affidavit of support and upload it. Upload all the documents. Get your NBI. I mean, your police clearance. Yes, you can do all these things. I mean, the worst case scenario is maybe you have to get another police clearance if it goes on too long. But absolutely, keep going, guys. Keep going.
Okay, last question.
Don't let the pause stop you from filing. Maybe that's exactly what they want, right? Maybe it's because they want you to stop. Because we don't want immigrants anymore. Who knows? Probably is. You want them to win, right? No, you can still do the things that you're able to do now. All right.
Okay. Sabrina wants to know, hello, good night. Can you please explain the visa bulletin? So
I should do. Let's talk about the visa bulletin next week. We don't have enough time. So the visa bulletin, the May visa bulletin just came out, guys. And basically the visa bulletin shows the number of visas available worldwide based on country and based on category. So if you have an I-130 petition filed for your spouse and you are a lawful permanent resident, you would have to go to the visa bulletin to see, okay, is this current? Is my number available? So when you file, you get something called a priority date. So you file your I-130 petition, this is an example, for your spouse and you are a permanent resident, you are going to be in the F2A category. And so the date that you file is the date that you get in line. And the visa bulletin basically shows where you are in that line. It comes out every month, usually in the middle of the previous month for the next month. And it's put out by the State Department. We will get into more detail if anyone wants to know more about the visa bulletin. We've started doing webinars. We did one on the top 10 mistakes. If anybody wants a link to that webinar, just put webinar in the comments or DM me webinar, top 10 mistakes webinar, and we can send that to you. It's very, very informative.
And these priority dates are why we always are advising folks to file cases, even when they know it's going to take a long time. They say, oh, it's going to take years and years. And we always remind them, yeah, but you lock in your priority date when you file, the time's going to pass either way. So the sooner you get it in and lock in your date, the better. Okay.
All right, yeah, folks. I just really quickly on that. Do you know how many times I have met with someone and they wanted to file for their sibling, for example, or they wanted to file for their sibling. This is a really good example. Or they wanted to file for their adult unmarried child and they're a permanent resident, U.S. citizen if you're a sibling, and they hear how long it's going to take. And like, oh no, Attorney Mendoza, that's going to take so long. Well, I mean, you got to get in line. Like, yes, it's going to take long. If there are no other remedies, like you should definitely file. Oh, let me think about it. I don't know. and then they don't proceed. But they come back to me like 6 years later. And they say, I'm ready to file for my sibling. I'm ready to file for my unmarried child. I'm ready to file for my married child if he's a U.S. citizen. You just lost 6 years. You could be 6 years ahead with your priority date. This is the visa bulletin. And it just, I mean, I'm partly to blame. I wasn't a good enough person to persuade them to do it now, to do it back then, 6 years ago. But it happens time and time again.
Yeah.
It's not always 6 years. Sometimes it's 8. Sometimes it's 3. Sometimes it's 2. Sometimes somebody calls me who's been a naturalized U.S. citizen for 17 years, and they want to know about bringing sister over. You're 60 years old now. Your sister's 60. She's going to be here when she's 80. But that didn't have to be the case. So what was the question?
About locking in the priority date.
Locking in the priority date. Okay.
Well, that was a comment that I made.
On my high horse here, guys, but we've seen too many people be disappointed, be upset because they didn't know. They didn't know. Or maybe they did and they had an excuse like, oh, I couldn't do it at that time. I didn't have enough money or, whatever the excuse was, the reason. And it breaks my heart when I have to tell this information to people like, hey, yeah, it's going to take 20 years to bring your sibling here. But like, when did you become a naturalized U.S. citizen again? Oh, 17 years ago. Oh, well, they didn't want to come 17 years ago. Like, well, that's okay because they were coming 7 years anyway. It takes like 20 plus years. So anyway, guys,
yeah,
our point is just, carpe diem, seize the day, and get the information.
Yeah, don't be afraid of that line. I mean, we get it.
Yeah.
We've all seen the Chick-fil-A line wrapped around the building 3 times, and we just think, no, that's just too long. Just get in line. It moves. It's going to keep moving.
Get in line.
All right.
Get in line. All right.
We got to roll.
We will see you next Wednesday. We will be bringing our good friend and colleague, Odette Batchelor.
Mm-hmm.
She is former USCIS senior immigration officer, retired now, just recently retired back in August. And she has lots and lots of information to share. She will be here next week. So you guys, we'll see you there. Thank you so much for the amazing questions.
Absolutely. And travel with me. We talk tomorrow. Okay, buddy?
Does he know our number? 757-464-9224. Bye, guys.
Keep thumbs up. Have a great night, everyone.
See you next week. Bye-bye.